Three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? It's Ash on Comics. I'm Ash, and you guys aren't comics. I'm certainly no comic, but I'll sit up here and make a fool of myself anyway. It is a nice Sunday evening, and I hope you guys are having a good evening. I know I am. Yesterday was a pretty good day. I got to talk with a friend of mine that I don't get to talk to very often, and he said some good things to me that just help me out in the times like this. And it's good. It's good to remember who your friends are. It's good to have good friends, good family. People are very important, and we live in a world, unfortunately, where we don't care about one another. We just kind of shit on each other to get ahead, and it just leaves a lot of people suffering, and it sucks. And then, of course, these people, when I say we, I mean the proverbial we. I don't necessarily mean anyone in this chat, of course, but just as a society, and I think you guys all know what I mean. And then, of course, when we find ourselves on the shit side of the scale, we're the ones being like, oh shit, I wish someone, would be there for me. And only then do we realize, but there's so many people, and especially in this country, one of the trials that I face on a day-to-day basis is just, we live in such a fortunate society that our forefathers have built for us, this great rich nation that we can all sit around and live lives of luxury, and we've never had the misfortune of having to live at a time where other countries flew over us and dropped bombs on our heads. I remember when I was in high school, I had a really great history teacher, and he told me, well, he didn't tell me, he told the class or whatever, and a couple of great things. And one of the things I remember, though, actually, this wasn't even history. It's probably my sociology class. But we were talking about how, like, American society is, like, one of the things that makes us so much different than Europe is at least this was, remember, this is back in the late 80s, early 90s. At the time, it's like Europe knows what it's like to have people fly over their cities and drop bombs on them. So they live in a different kind of world than we do. And it's gotten even more so in the 30 plus years since that time. We're more and more privileged. We're more and more out of touch with things. Everything seems so clear when I think about it in that perspective of, like, why we live in this world where everyone's so offended by everything. And it's like, it's really hard to be offended by, when people go, like, you call the coronavirus, you call it the Wuhan virus, and people are like, that's racist. It's really hard to be offended by someone calling a virus created by China, well, allegedly created by China, at least started in China, spread out of Wuhan. It's hard to be offended by calling it the Wuhan virus when you live in a world where people drop bombs on your heads. Like, anyways, I know you didn't come here to get all depressed and stuff. I just, I like to get things off my chest. And that's just kind of what's going on in my mind. And I just try to take things into perspective and, like, what's important. And I'll tell you what's important right now is comics. To a lot of people, they don't matter, and that's fine. But when I say comics matter, what I mean is entertainment matters. Having something to look forward to matters, right? I've seen, like, really good memes circulating the web that talk about, if you having a good time, essentially communicating the whole thing of, like, having a good time isn't a waste of time. And that's so true. Like, if you just go to work 80 hours a week to pay the bills and do all this stuff, like, that's, I guess, commendable. You're raising a family potentially, like, you're responsible. Okay, that's fine. But if you do that and then you die, like, what was the whole point? Like, now, I'm not advocating decadence. Of course, that has its own perils that I just was talking about, but everyone should live to enjoy things. And that for a lot of people, including myself, that's comics. Could be TV shows, could be video games, could be taking a walk in the park, could be going to the beach, could be surfing, could be playing games, could be hiking in the mountains. It could be sunbathing. I don't understand that at all, but I guess some people like that. Sitting down with a good book, listening to music. Going to a concert is a lot of fun. I really enjoy that. What was the last concert you guys saw? I'm trying to remember what the last concert I saw was. Oh, it was it was Disturbed. My good friend's a really big Disturbed fan, and he wanted me to go, so I went with him, and it was actually a pretty fun concert. I'm not a huge Disturbed fan, but I enjoyed the concert quite a bit. Let's see what we got going on in the chat tonight. Eric Breen was the first one here, and probably the first one out of here. Eric, if you're still here, let me know, man. He says, good evening, late nighters. And then Ash 1138 was the second one here. Hey, Ash 1138, how you doing? Eric is doing his best Pink Floyd impression. Hello, hello, hello. Is there anybody in there? Well, Nalo is here, showing some support. He likes the waiting screen. Cool. And apparently watched Richard Meyer's Comedy Central vid, which was pretty cringe. What did you think about that, Nalo? Was that cringe or what? I thought that was a lot of fun. I remember watching that back in the day when it came out. Hopefully my stream is still going. Hopefully there's people in the chat. I get nervous when I don't have a lot of feedback. I think it's probably time for me to send out my tweet. If you guys could share and like and subscribe and do all the other things that help little old me get some visibility out in this Twitter sphere, that'd be kind of cool. I just went to the wrong place, not Twitter. I'm sitting here. See, this is why I can't multitask. I'm sitting here talking about Twitter when I meant to go to YouTube. The YouTubes. Dun, 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 dun. My videos. I have to go to my own channel and watch it, like as if I'm a subscriber, to do the share. Let's see. Comedy Central guy ends it with, "These comics are not for you, Richard." Yeah, that was it's funny if you look at I don't know if you see the YouTube video, they got ratioed to hell. That video, that was such a smear video. Like Richard exposed all the stuff, that how they filmed it and how they edited it and rearranged the footage to make it look a certain way. And it's just wow. And it's sad. You're like a comedy show and you're trying to like smear a YouTuber on comics. Like it was so weird and cringy. But I think it's just you and me, Nalo. I think Eric went to sleep. We're going to have a nice little intimate comic reading tonight, which is sad because I had some good comics to go over. Let's see. If I go to my books. One of the things I was thinking about doing is maybe adding more books, like read 3 books a night and gab less. I don't know if me talking is what anyone wants to hear, but I don't have any feedback. It's Sunday night and it's late, and I don't have any competition streams that I'm aware of. It's not like last night I had to compete with Englentine. I was hoping to get some people in here before we started. Nalo says, I'm here for the gab. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I always have to incorporate potential like walk-ins, you know, like people who've never seen me before or don't know me from Adam. I know sometimes, at least for me, when I listen to other YouTubers, when I kind of start to know them a little bit, or at least know them through their channel, listening to them talk becomes a little bit more interesting because I have a feel for their personality and who they are and everything. But if I just had some random stranger and he's just blabbing and I'm like, whatever, I'm just tune out. So I kind of have to consider that too. That who am I? I'm just talking shit about nothing. Look, I got a thumbs down on my video. Look at that. I'm ratioed 2 to 1. Can you believe that? Someone thumbed me down. They didn't comment. That's, you know, I don't mind the thumbs down, to be honest. Like, I would love to have feedback and do better. If people don't like my video, tell me what it is. Tell me what would make it better for them. I don't know. But it could be that my Twitter haters also see my, you know, I post on Twitter and they're like, oh, and then go over here, they thumb it down and leave, because I've pissed off plenty of the Comicsgate crowd. And lately, I have pissed off, even better, I've pissed off the anti-Comicsgate crowd. It's so funny. I don't know what happened, but apparently, I don't know if anyone knows who Pocket Jax is. I barely know who this guy is. All I've heard his name is from the Comicsgate crowd. Now they're always shitting on him. But he recently trademarked Comicsgate. And so I've heard, you know, them all shitting on him, like, you know, Comicsgate, and he's doing this. And so apparently John Delarose, a.k.a. JDA, and, you know, an old friend of mine, Captain Cummings, who was one of the very first people to ever endorse my channel. You can go back to, like, my very first video, which is super cringe. I, like, filmed it, like, vertical on my phone. so shitty. And that was his, like, comment. He, like, commented, like, how amateur my video and stuff was. But back in the day, you know, it was, like, 2018. Comicsgate was live and well. Captain Cummings was an old school comic skater and stuff, and for him to come over to my channel and give some support to me, it meant a lot. And now, man, I tweeted to him because he's been shitting on Just Some Guy, and I made a tweet basically saying, you know, like, hey, this is cringe. Why are you guys going at each other? Just this is stupid. Like, I thought better about both of you. And I tweeted to each of them, like, equally, like the same exact tweet. And Cummings just blew up in my face. Like, he just lost his shit. And he started, like quote tweeting me to his followers and being like, look at this guy. And I'm like, do you remember who I am? Like, you and I, like, well, not like we were tight or anything, but, like, we had a mutual respect. We DM'd one another, like, and he just treats me like I'm some asshole. And I'm just like, wow, I all I did was say, like, cut it out. I expected better out of you guys. Like, you know, and he's just, like, basically just treating me like, and then of course it's like, and I realize it's because him and Pocket Jax and JDA, and Comic Book Hut and these guys, these anti-comicator guys, that they're all in it together. And they've become like their own tribe. And if you have a disagreement with one of them, you have a disagreement with all of them. And they're just like Comicsgate, right? If you say anything nasty about, not even nasty, just negative about Ethan, you will get War Campaign dogpiling on you all over the place. I had War Campaign on me for like a year. And it was funny because, unbeknownst to these weirdo cult members, I'm in, like, an inside DM group with Ethan Van Sciver. And, you know, he referred to me as being a part of the inner circle. I never really thought I was the inner circle, but he had said that. to me a couple of times because I would disagree with him, and I was one of the few people that would just be like, no, Ethan, you should, and I was like, and we would get in arguments, and I'd be like, dude, why are you disrespecting me? And he'd be like, Ash, if I was disrespecting you, I wouldn't have you as part of my inner circle. And I was like, all right. And it's funny because I would say something negative and they would just dogpile and shit on me, and it's like, like, oh, you just hate Ethan Van Sciver and you're just all, and I'm like, dude, I'm like behind the scenes with the guy, like talking to him and but you're treating me like I'm some enemy of his. But it's just because I call shit out. Like I'm not tribalistic. I don't think like, oh, Nala's a good guy, so no matter what he says, I'm going to support it. No, if he says something that, I flagrantly disagree with, I'm going to point it out. Like, and anyways, I'm off on the weeds as usual. Yeah, he says, I've never heard of that guy until the other day, but they clearly have no idea how trademarks work. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's cringe. I posted their little logo that they made because when I heard the story and I was like, all right, I thought the same thing. I was like, that's really not how trademarks work. But then I saw the logo and I was like, oh my God, what the hell is this? Part of it was kind of funny. If someone had just made it as a meme, it would be kind of funny because it's got a picture of Renfamous like smashing a mailbox and a frog leaping out of the mailbox. And I was like, okay, that's kind of clever. Like, that's a funny image if you know about the history of Comic-Gate. But that's not a meme. That's the logo that they're trademarking. And I'm like, oh, geez. But whatever. I'm not inner circle for sure, not anymore. Whether I ever was, I don't really know. I don't know if Ethan was just blowing smoke up my skirt, but I'm certainly not anymore. And Ethan doesn't listen to the shit I say, but I was there because I remember I was in Comicsgate before Ethan was. And so I was sort of a confidant when he first was getting his feet wet and he was treading the fan base. I tried to be there for him as an honest perspective fan, because I wasn't a fan of Ethan Van Sciver's. I wasn't into comics when Ethan was making it big, like from 2000 to 220. I was out of comics. I'm pre Ethan Van Sciver, so all I know about him is his reputation and his modern fan base. So I didn't have any like fanboy confirmation bias or just bias in general. Like I was just like, hey, I respect you. You're a comic professional. I respect you that you're getting shit on because you have conservative views and the industry hates you because of that. Like, but this fan base also, this Twitter sphere is full of weirdos and nuts. And so I was trying to be this sort of confidant and mediator to like help him sift through things. And also, when you're in the public eye on a level like such as Ethan, it's difficult for you to address problems because, we talk about it all the time. Like, it's like movie stars, right? When they flip their shit, like the Rian Johnson thing, when he lost his shit on fans because fans were trashing Star Wars and everything. And it was like, dude, you can't do that. And I'm a Rian Johnson fan. Like I still like Last Jedi. I think the guy is a great, terrific filmmaker. I think Last Jedi is the most underappreciated film probably ever made. But regardless, I couldn't defend him as a person because, dude, you don't get to do that. Fans get to hate your film if they want to. They can call it shit. They can call you roundhead Rian Johnson all day long. I don't particularly like hearing it because I think it's really cringy when people make fun of other people's looks. It's like, oh, you made a bad film, so I'm going to make fun of what you look like, and you had no choice over the matter. That just seems silly and stupid to me. But yeah, so when you're in that spotlight, you can't address things. But what can happen is your fans can address things for you, right? If Rian Johnson fans lash back at the people who hate Rian Johnson, then it doesn't necessarily look bad on Rian Johnson, right? It's just they fight amongst each other and he just sits off in the distance and doesn't get involved. That's the way you do things, and that's the way I tried to handle things with Ethan. And especially when he had the problems with Cummings back in the day. And I defended Cummings to Ethan. Like, I stood on his side to Ethan. And which really, this is why it bothers me. This is the whole point of this long diatribe here. Why Cummings is now like shitting on me. I'm like, do you not remember when I fucking came to your defense? But it's the same thing. I stood up to war campaign on JDA's behalf for months while everyone shit on him, and they tried to kick him out of Comicsgate and all this stuff. And then people tried to warn me, oh, JDA, he just fucking burned. He's just using you, Ash. You're doing, no, he's a good guy. You guys are being shitty. And they were. I don't regret my decisions because they were based on principle. But sure enough, a few months into it, JDA turned on me and he started lying about me. And to this day, he won't admit it. He'll pretend it never happened. He's like slick and he manipulates other people. I don't. This stream's not here to talk shit about people, so I apologize for going down that path. I shouldn't have done that. But when you're sitting here streaming your conscious like I am right now by yourself, in order to keep from having dead air, that's kind of a side effect. You just get uncensored, if you will. So I will refrain from going down the drama thing. I will appreciate everyone listening and hearing, at least letting me vent. And, because I kind of feel like you guys are friends in a way. So this is what I would be shooting the shit with my friends. But let's see. I'm not a Star Wars nerd and have no emotional attachment to the franchise, even though I love the originals. But I would love to get into Last Jedi with you, Ash, in good fun. Oh, yeah, we can have a conversation. I'm always down to actually discuss the film in an intellectually honest way. Unfortunately, it sucks because I never get to talk about it because almost everyone is disingenuous and intellectually dishonest, and they have an agenda to hate the film and not actually discuss it in a rational fashion, and it just becomes a waste of time. So I'm like, okay, well, you hate the film. Like, I'm not trying to tell anyone to go like the film, and you're wrong to hate it. I'm just saying I appreciate it, and I see the goodness of that film, and I think it is a huge example of herd mentality that humans have, that it's come this far to the point where I challenge you to find people that will now admit that they like Last Jedi. I mean, when it came out, everyone was saying they loved it. You found it some detractors, but within like that first week or two of Last Jedi, people were like, "Oh, that was a good film." And now the ratio of people hate to like is so topsy-turvy, and I feel like there are some people who had genuine emotion for it, or a genuine feeling like when they walked out of the theater they didn't like it. But I feel like there's a lot more people who kind of liked it or really liked it and now won't admit it. And like Richard C. Meyer is one of those people. He gave a review of the film. He gave it a positive review. And now he'll trash the film because it's groupthink and it's natural human behavior. When everyone thinks differently than you start second guessing the way you think. You're like, well, wait a second. If everyone else hates it and I'm the only one who likes it, maybe I'm wrong. And that's not necessarily unhealthy because sometimes you are wrong. I've used that argument on people and I'm like, look, dude, if it's just you, the only one thinking this way, maybe it's not everyone else that's wrong. And so, of course, I'm defeating myself right now with that. Hey, Ash, everyone, maybe it's you. But, it is what it is. So let's see who we got. We got some other people joining the channel. Edmundo is here. Thanks for showing up. Comic Quirks, a.k.a. Jimmy, Superman's pal, is here. Edmundo says, I did not go to see episode 9. Looks like crap. It kind of is. I mean, it was a very watchable film. My review of the film was, if you had never seen Star Wars before, if you had no idea, and that was your first Star Wars film, you could go watch it and be entertained. Not that it's a great movie, but it's a fun movie. It's got good action scenes, got some funny dialogues, got good special effects. J.J. Abrams knows how to shoot a film, despite what anyone might say. And it's there, like, right? It's kind of on the level of like Fast and the Furious movie, right? You're going to go and you're going to have some fun, munch some popcorn. But if you're a diehard Star Wars fan and you know the lore and it's sacred to you and just you've been digesting this stuff for 40 years like I have. Like I've seen every Star Wars film original in the theater, right? I am the Star Wars generation. I didn't come in later and be like, oh, like Return of the Jedi was the first movie I saw in the theater, or even more common these days is like the prequels is their first film. And I saw Star Wars, Empire, Jedi, and that trilogy of films, there's no piece of media or literature, no form of storytelling that has a bigger impact on my life than that set of movies. It is shaped much of who I am today. It is very sacred to me. And so when I watch episode 9, the film critic in me can say, oh, here's just looking at it objectively as a film, it's a flawed but entertaining film. But as a piece of the canonical story of Star Wars and the saga that Lucas created, it's a hideous, mutated beast that needs to be shot and put out of its misery. I'm really upset with the decision making that was put into that film. Let's see. Let's see. I was cringing while I was watching, but I don't want other people to not like it just because I don't like it, but I don't hate it either. Okay. Alice says, gotta read Brubaker Captain America after today's stream. Yeah, I gotta read Brubaker's Captain America too. Maybe we should. I kind of want to do a Brubaker Captain America thing, since Jimmy doesn't have me on to do his stuff. I didn't read it for his show, but I do have it and I do want to read it. I would love to collaborate with people on something. Hint, hint. Let's see. Skip says, I'm the oddball that enjoyed Rise of Skywalker but didn't like Last Jedi and felt nothing for Force Awakens. All right, it is. I mean, it's not terribly odd. I mean, I think the two J.J. Abrams films are the worst of the trilogy. I think Last Jedi was the only good film. I think it's the best of the Disney films. I would actually arguably say it's the only really good film that's been made. I kind of like Rogue One. Rogue One had some good elements to it. Of course, the ending of Rogue One is fantastic, but as a whole, it was like Solo had some really strong potential, and then they turned it into an SJW fest and made it about droids and freeing the oppression. And how can you have feminism in a droid? Oh God. Let's see. Nalo says, I did not like the nostalgia fest aspect, but was into the plot seeds planted that never flourished. Yeah, I think that's one of the problems that Disney's doing is they're feeding into nostalgia instead of just making good films. Just I don't want nostalgia. Star Wars Legends is better than Disney canon. Who agrees with me? Say aye. No, see, here's the problem. I think this is one of the reasons why also that Disney doesn't have a prayer of making successful Star Wars, because Legends wasn't good, but Legends has a lot of fans, and Legends isn't Star Wars, but the fans who love Star Wars today are fans more probably of Legends than anything else. And so they want more Legends, and Legends was crap. Jedi Academy was one of the worst series of books I've ever read in my life. And I told, what's the name of that author? It's driving me nuts. I used to know his name so well. Damn it. Kevin J. Anderson. I told Kevin J. Anderson to his face at San Diego Comic-Con. I was so rude, but I was like 20 something, dude. And, I was at Comic-Con and he was there and I met him and I regret it. I was rude. I shouldn't have done that. Like my older self really cringes, but it's fucking dog shit. It's way worse than any of the Disney films that have been made. And I got another thing. They crashed a moon. They killed Chewbacca by crashing a moon into him. It's stupid. It's stupid. Anyways, Quirk says we're doing Batman Universe next week if you want to join. So now you invite me when it's Bendis. When it's the books I told you I wanted to do, you don't invite me. Jesus, Jimmy. Nalo says Emperor coming back is such a gigantic eye roll. Yeah, I know. Yeah, especially when right there in front of your face was the Darth Plagueis story. All along, it was like smacking you in the face like a giant phallic symbol. Just slap, slap, slap. Darth Plagueis is the way to go. You know, Snoke is actually Darth Plagueis. It's so crystal clear. Who could be alive for 1,000 years, watch the Empire grow and fail? Who could do it? The master of Palpatine. But Ash, he's dead. Yes, but in episode 2, we get to learn that Darth Plagueis defied death. He's so powerful in the dark side that he learned to defy death. But instead of using that, they made it so Palpatine defied death. How much better of a story could it have been if there's so many things that need to be fixed in Rise of Skywalker, but this particular aspect, when Kylo Ren shows up at that stupid planet and he meets the dark figure that's on the planet, and it's not Palpatine who shows his face, but it's Darth Plagueis. There's so much more they could have done, and I could tell you what I would have done, and it would have been so much better. But yeah, but the people doing Star Wars, they don't get Star Wars. They don't understand it. So the things that stare them right in the face, they just are like, huh, what? Why should we do it that way? Whatever. I don't want to talk about Star Wars anymore. It's going to get you guys all riled up in the chat. Let's see. So I'm going to start skipping some of the Star Wars comments not because I don't like your comments, but that'll just add fuel to the fire. And Nalo says you can get more out of reading the Halo game novels. Halo's got a really good universe. Let's see. I'm not going to comment on the Thrawn trilogy because I think it's one of the most overrated set of books ever. Whoops, I just commented on it. Sorry. Nalo says, I'm impressed with the cinematography and diverse worlds that they visit as well. So I don't even think... Comic Quirk says, I didn't think about it being Bendis. You should do it, even if it's to hate on it. But it's the best thing Bendis has done at DC. Either way, it's a win-win. Well, no, it's not for me. So, let's see. Computer Robot says, Ash on comics. So don't apologize because some writers need some tough love to achieve their goals. Right on, buddy. Good to see you. I'm glad you made it. I'm glad now that there's some good people in the chat that I recognize. And if you're in the chat as well, or just lurking in the background and I don't recognize you, I appreciate you being here too. Let's get on with some comics, shall we? I know that's why everyone came here, and we're going to start off with Batman: The Adventures Continue. Last episode, we did this book called Batman: The Adventures Continue, and it is the successor to the Batman animated series. And you guys all know about it. Everyone should know what Batman the Animated Series is. It's a fun animated show. Probably the best cartoon based off of comic books ever, in my opinion. And this is the successor to it. There's never going to be another Batman animated series by Burnett and Dini, but there will be comic books illustrated by, is it Ty Templeton? I think's his name. I'm so bad at remembering these names. Let's go into full screen mode to get the full experience. Boom, 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 boom. Hardware Part 2. All right. Are you guys ready for a bedtime story? Do you have your little glass of water? Make sure, because you always got to have your glass of water before you go to bed, because I don't know, you got to quench your thirst. I don't know. Kids are always like, I need a water, glass of water. I'm thirsty, because they don't want to go to bed. There's my clankety clank metal water bottle that actually has soda in it from dinner. Got some left over. That's what I'm drinking. No alcohol tonight. Let's start it off. Batman: The Adventures Continue, Chapter 2. Blue Boys. Oh, gotta get the voices right. Blue Boy's not gonna save you this time, Batman. Trust me. You're in over your head, Luthor. And you're about to lose yours. Beep, beep, beep. Hear that? Click. Something emerges. It's the sound of the future, Batman. I witnessed Superman and Brainiac's battle myself from a lunar satellite, Mono A Mecho. Spectacular. That's how I knew Superman had Brainiac's head. You won't find the secrets of the universe inside that skull, Luthor. It has no programming. Brainiac was the programming. When he knew he was losing the battle, he uploaded himself to somewhere in space. That head is wiped clean. It's nothing but hardware. Wayne's people went through it. You've gone through a lot of trouble for some cosmic junk. Smack! Brucey's boys aren't me. You can't imagine the strides I've made in cybernetics, my friend. The power behind this juggernaut would boggle your mind. Even if I find only fragments of Brainiac's programming, just frisms of molecular states, I can build on them. Nothing ever gets wiped completely clean. Except for you, tonight. This won't be quick. He means to see me suffer. Can't fight him in his exosuit. Maybe 10 seconds of consciousness left. I told him it was just hardware, a driverless machine. What do you think you're going to do with that? Batman has a batarang in his hand. I also said Wayne's people had gone through it. By people, I meant me. And while I didn't discover any buried cosmic knowledge, I did confirm that the most lifeless of machines still have working mechanisms. And I figured out how to hotwire the circuits. With a batarang? Batman does it with a batarang? Wonk. Nice. That's a cool shot. Just blasted through the hangar, through a plane. Round 2. Nice. This is taking too much time, Alfred. I've got to get back there. I don't suppose I could dissuade you by mentioning that your ribcage is starting to resemble an old picket fence. This time, I'm bringing protection. Are you sure this suit can prevail over Luthor's suit? All it has to do is get me close enough to dismantle his suit's energy packs. Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, dude, look at this. Batman's bringing out the Superman combat suit. Isn't this the suit that he wears in Dark Knight Returns to beat up Superman? Looks like it to me. He's going to fight super cybernetic Luthor with it? Nice. What if he uses the larger robot? You said it was indestructible. As well, it's huge. It even has a room for a co-pilot. Co-pilot? See? There are 2 cockpits, one in the front and one just behind it. That's no cockpit. That's a battery. Whoosh. Who is that? Is that? I don't even know who's voiced. Okay. An hour ago, in a cargo plane, a C-17. Oh, God. Oh, wait, it's a guy screaming. I'm doing the voices wrong. I can't even tell who's... Let's start this over. Rewind. Whoosh. An hour ago, in a cargo plane, a C-17. Oh, God. That's all I know, I swear. Where was he going? That's Christian Bale, Batman. We'll be in Metropolis airspace in 5 minutes. You might want to change it to something more businesslike, Lex. Just get us there, Mercy. You don't know him. He's relentless. Skeeg. Yes, Batman. Nice. Whoosh. Interesting. His power's at half strength. That hit he took from Brainiac's beams must have impaired him. He's damaged goods. You're finished, Luthor. Arg! The plane's out of control, Lex. It's going down. So's the freaking bat. Lex chucks his armor. Looks like he's getting inside the robot. Boom, the plane explodes and the robot emerges. Oh, hey, look. The girl's going... Oop, why is that? Go back. Can't control comicsology. It's got a mind of its own. No, I don't want the stupid comicsology. All right. Moving on. No way you'll escape, Batman. Way. Sorry. That's a great scene. No way you'll escape, Batman. Way. That was rad. I'm sorry. Looks like Batman like shoots him with some sort of taser plug thing. What? Round 3. She's still parachuting down in the background. I love that attention to detail. Arg! What the hell is happening? And that's game. Look at the look on Luthor's face. Mind if I take care of this on my own? He's all yours. Dun 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 bum bum bum. You might want to pick up his bodyguard on the way out. Nice. How did you know I was in the robot? It all made sense, especially when I saw the schematics. I realized he had turned you into the ultimate solar battery. I figured if I could jolt you with the kryptonite charge, I might be able to break whatever mind-controlled state he induced into you. Once again, I owe you. Just get rid of this thing. Maybe toss it into the sun. It's madman candy. On my way, my friend. Faster than a speeding bullet. He really is a Boy Scout. This is where it all began. Everything. Even me in a strange way. Such a creepy cold vibe. Like a haze. You can almost see it. I know I can feel it. Feels good. Hey, you. Yeah, you, weirdo. You've been there for an hour. What's going on? The most consequential spot in Gotham, and he has no idea. There's a law against loitering, you know. I'll call the cops if I have to. Start dialing, tough guy. Let's see how far you get. Jeez! That was stupid. Can't let morons tick me off like that. I got bigger fish to fry. So much bigger. Next. Deathstroke comes to Gotham. Booyah! That was a fun issue. That was a good story. 2-part story. Whole time Superman being the battery that powered the robot. Man, this is why the Batman animated series was so good. Because Burnett and Dini's writing is as good or better than the comics. These stories, these guys should just write mainstream Batman. Not that I don't want to have this comic, the animated type comic, but it's a love letter. It's an homage. It's a recreation of bringing back the animated series, which I know people want, but we don't necessarily need it if we've got really great Batman comics. You know what I mean? So, what did you guys think of that one? I really enjoyed it. Let's take a look at the chat. FF2 says, I just finished reading Young Justice Book 1. It has its good moments. The next books on the list, and then the next book on the list is Daredevil Born Again. Dude. Daredevil Born Again is the shit. I highly recommend, if you're into it, it's more of an investment, but I highly recommend reading Frank Miller's run on Daredevil leading into Born Again. Because Born Again is sort of like a finale story. It's sort of like the end of Daredevil. Obviously, we know it's not, because Daredevil's been around, 30 years of comics since, but it's a climactic. It's the end of Frank Miller's run on Daredevil, and he ends it. Like, he puts Daredevil in a bad place. And also getting a taste of Frank Miller beforehand, before you get into it, it just is the icing on the cake. You don't have to. If you are a comic fan and you know Daredevil in general, I think you'll be able to just follow it just fine and pick it up. But that's one of my favorite comics of all time. And just remember, man, when you get to the scene, there's a scene in that book. Oh man, it's one of my favorite moments in comics. There's a line. It's like, he has the voice that could command a god, and does. Oh, you're just gonna clench your, like I'm doing right now. You're gonna clench your fist and be like, yes, badass. Yeah, one of the great moments. Yeah, I don't want to say any more. Enjoy it. I hope you really love it. Nala says I will be dozing off soon, but story timing all the way out. All right, good. That's what I'm here for, man. I'm here to read you some nice bedtime stories and help you fall asleep. And if you miss anything, hey, this is saved on YouTube, so you can just come back. Fast forward to the story elements if you don't want to hear me jabbing about nonsense, and follow along the stories. Let's see. Nala says, loving how the art is the same as the cartoon. yeah, it's both a pro and a con for me, right? Like I love the consistency that it follows the cartoon, but I also kind of just wish it was Sean Gordon Murphy. Like I wish it was something. Well, whatever. It's a good fun story, and it's less than $1, kids. Go pick up these books. Support DC Comics, because DC Comics are trying to support you as a fan. They're trying to support all the comic book stores. They're trying to keep this industry going. They're not just sitting on their asses like Marvel and keeping quiet. And they really do want this industry to go. So if you like good comics, I think I'm proving that these are good comics, and spend less than $1. It's a good story. You're going to want to come back and read this. And these are good stories you can read to your kids, or have your kids read on their own if they're so inclined. Let's see. Simple, creative, to the point, respects the characters. Bingo. Ash, I know that you miss Bruce Timm's artwork as well. Well, maybe, I guess. I don't know. I've actually been reading Paul Dini Detective Comics. That's what I need to go back and do. Let's see. Good as a Young Justice cartoon or better. I don't follow the cartoons, so. My only complaint is that they're one-shots, which, while on lockdown, I would prefer longer stories. Well, if you're referring to this was like a 2-part story, so this wasn't really a one-shot. And the Superman doesn't seem like it's a one-shot. And especially since Venditti's doing it, I mean, Venditti's known for building up to a story. He doesn't, in my experience, isn't right. So I don't know. It seems like he got good stuff to pick up. Ash wants SGM to draw every Batman comic going forward. I wouldn't complain. But I do have other artists that I really like. If Finch wanted to do some Batman comics, I would be hell yeah, hell to the yeah. One of my favorite artists is actually doing Batman right now, which is Jorge Jimenez. Love, probably my favorite current modern artist. Him and Sean Gordon Murphy. Sean Gordon Murphy's visuals, like for backgrounds, and his layouts just keep getting better and better. And no one draws vehicles like he does. So when Murphy's drawing the right kind of content, he's unbeat. He's no one can do what he does. But Jorge Jimenez, here's the problem though. Jorge Jimenez is doing Batman right now, and it's not as good. I'm just like, you're not meant for Batman. Your stuff on Super Sons, mwah. If you can't see me right now, I'm doing the little put all your fingers together to your thumb and to your lips and mwah, and then expand them real wide. Voila. So good. His work on Justice League with Scott Snyder, fantastic. Great comic stuff. But the dark and gritty Batman stuff, it's not his forte. Nala says I was referring to the Paul Dini Detective Comics as one-shots. I don't know anything about those, so thanks for educating me. And I agree with you. I'm not as big on one-shots, unless it's a bigger. If it's like a 60-page book, you can get a meteor. If it's a 22-page book, but a 2-page story like this was 2 comics, so it was about a 48-page, 48 page. Well, I don't know how many total. A double-size issue essentially of a comic, and you got quite a bit of story. I really enjoyed it. I could handle this. I liked it more than both Justice League cartoons, but just a little. I don't follow Justice League. I don't follow any of the cartoons. I think the cartoons have been terrible for comics. I think the cartoons have been responsible for bringing up a whole new generation of comic fans that don't actually like comics, because what they actually liked are the cartoons. And so they're hoping for a recreation of what the cartoons gave them in the comics, instead of appreciating the comics for what comics are. And I think that is part of the problem of what we're seeing in comics now, is because that generation is becoming the pros behind making the comics. And so now they're transforming it into they're transforming the medium into something new. And they don't appreciate what it was. And so we have a base of professionals that are changing it. We have a base of fans who support them changing it because their first experience with, say, Young Justice was the cartoon. And so they're like, yeah, this is what I want. And they're like, no, like, and God help us, going forward, we're going to have fans who come into things like the Titans or Teen Titans, and it's going to be off that DC direct access thing, the DC Universe show. And that's going to be their experience. And they're going to be like, that's what I want. It's bad. There's some people who have been saying that the MCU is the worst thing that's ever happened to Marvel Comics. And I'm like, oh, hush. Like, but now in hindsight, I'm almost like, oh, I don't know. It's great because when I was young, I could have only ever dreamed in the MCU. I would have been like, no, if you were to tell me that Marvel was going to make their own movies and they were going to be like some of the best superhero movies ever made, and they're going to make like 20 plus movies and they're all going to interconnect like one big universe, I would have been like, shut up, that's never going to happen. Because if you guys don't remember, before Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, comic book movies tended to really suck. People will say like, oh, but Ash, the Blade movies. Yeah, the Blade movies are okay, but they weren't like Blade from the comic books. They had to radically change. The Blade movies don't feel like a comic book movie at all. It's really just a vampire hunter movie that's loosely based on the character from the comic books. So I don't really even count Blade. And, you've had the original Superman 1 and 2. Some people like the Tim Burton Batman movies. I don't. But those are the highlights. We had Dolph Lundgren Punisher. We had Halle Berry Catwoman. We had so much atrocity until Sam Raimi came and said, here's how you do a comic book movie. Listen up. And thank God, now we're spoiled. Okay. Talking about Young Justice going down. I'll keep getting YouTube for a new HQ cartoon or something that DC Universe. Okay, I don't know. Comic Works. I just bought Young Justice 1, the Jorge Jimenez variant, and it's beautiful. Look it up. I'm sure it's beautiful. I love his art, and I'm so glad that he's not doing. I'm so glad he's not being wasted on Young Justice. Sorry, I know you like Young Justice. Who's read Deathstroke by Marv Wolfman? It's cool and I recommend it. All right, cool. Titans suck. The show should never been made. I think all you have to do is see 10 seconds of footage to know that. Actually, all you need to do is see still shots and know that. It's like Birds of Prey. All you need to do is see a movie still, and you just look at that famous still of all the birds of prey like kind of standing, but they're kind of walking forward a little bit, that weird type, and you just look at that still and you go, oh my God, this is so cringe. This looks freaking terrible. Like it's like a couple it looks like cosplayers. It looks like Margot Robbie took a photo with cosplayers and like, hey, these are cosplayer fans. It's so bad. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. Had she actually taken a photo with cosplayers, it would have looked better. It would look better. I don't know. Every time I see that picture that's roaming around the net, it's awful. It drives me nuts. And if you see stills of the Titans from the DC Universe, the same thing. It's same thing. Oh my God, when you see Streetwalker Starfire, you're just like, I do the whole, remember the meme of Stitch from Lilo and Stitch when he's like pulling down his eye? That's me every time I see that picture. Oh my God. Let's see. Skip and Tosh. X-Men, Batman Animated Series, Spider-Man, Justice League, Young Justice, Batman Beyond. When I couldn't buy comics, at least, I had cable to watch some comic-related content. Cool. And you know what? You're lucky because, even though I just kind of knocked on it and said I think that's kind of been hurting comics, I kind of would have been envious as a kid myself because we didn't, you know what my superhero show was as a kid? Super Friends. And I still have fond memories of Super Friends, to be honest, but I know I couldn't watch it today other than for nostalgia. It was pretty terrible, but that was what I got. And it was cool for its time, and it probably is the single most thing that got me into comics later on. Ironically, not into DC, but in Marvel. And then I didn't get Marvel comics. The best thing that I got was I could go back and find the 60s Spider-Man. Do you remember? Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Hey man, here comes a Spider-Man. See, I can sing on mic on YouTube like Ethan. I can't play an instrument though. But the 60s Spider-Man was cool. You know, it's really cool if you can find it too. Go back and find, I think it was from the 60s. I wish Eric Breen was here because he would know. The animated Avengers TV show. Oh my God. The animation is terrible. It looks like they cut out pictures from a comic book and then like did the South Park thing with them. It looks really terrible. But they had fun. It was fun. If anyone can find these things, let me know. Because I would love to get a copy of that old Avengers cartoon. It was neat. Let's see. Ash on Comics says Computer Robots. I will say that the Iron Man movies did help boost up the Iron Man comics because of Robert Downey Jr. His personality of the character. Before that, not much people did care about Iron Man. That is true. You remember that, and I do too. Iron Man was a B-list character at best. He had a comic book which I collected because I thought Iron Man looked cool. He had a cool name, and it was okay comic. But yeah, Iron Man was not a superstar. Iron Man was just like, hey, he's Iron Man. Iron Man used to be like what like Moon Knight is today. Oh, hey, yeah, Moon Knight. He's a thing. Like he's got a comic. Okay. But now, yeah, Iron Man is huge. He's like big superstar because he kicked off the MCU, and that first Iron Man movie was spectacular. I was blown away when I came out of the theaters. That I was like, holy shit, they did Iron Man right. So yeah, you're exactly right about it. Everything you say, I support. Now says my dad showed me Super Friends when I was a kid. Your dad's probably in my generation, which makes me feel old. Thanks, appreciate it. Skip says I still love Blade 1. Lol. It's a fun movie. First successful Marvel character to feature film, rated R. Wasn't a lot of Blade comic runs at the time. Kind of developed the character more. Yeah, but go back and look at those old Blade comics. It's like nothing like the movies. And funny, Blade now in the comics is not based on the Marvel Comics Blade that like from the past. It's the movie Blade because no one wanted old school Blade. I don't know how they got that made into a movie. I'm guessing Wesley Snipes had a lot of power behind that because as a black actor, there's probably not a lot of leading roles, especially back in the 80s or 90s as much. They're harder to come by. Wesley Snipes had a lot of pull, and I'm sure someone probably brought by his desk and, hey, here's this badass dude who fucking kills vampires. And he's just like, sign me up. That's my guess. I have no idea. I'm just, and they just decided they just used the base core concept of a guy who's half vampire and he kills vampires and he's badass, and they threw everything else away. And it worked because sometimes movie writers are better than comic book writers. And I got to take a drink, so hold on. All right, thanks. So now let's see. Skip says I love Super Friends. When Batman and Robin were on, Scooby-Doo, mind blown. When Batman and Robin were on Scooby-Doo, yeah. I did too. I have fond memories of Super Friends. You'll see on my videos. I still to this day, like when I read comics, like meanwhile, back at the Hall of Justice. It was like that's right from the Super Friends. It's never lost me. But the cartoons, man, I did actually. I was gonna say I would have shit bricks if they're damn it, but I did shit bricks. I remember going to San Diego Comic-Con before the Batman animated series came out and getting to meet the guys that were doing the series, and they had like a little booth set up, and they were like, "Hey, we got this Batman show that's gonna be coming out next year. You know, you want to see?" And they did a whole like we got to see a panel. They showed the whole first pilot episode there at Comic-Con like a year before it came out, or at least months before it came out. I don't remember exactly. And I just remember just being like, what? Holy shit, what am I watching? you just did you just do a cartoon that's better than the comics? Like I was just like, what? Skip says, dude, the audio stories were so cool. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Maybe there's Blade audio stories. Oh, the Spider-Man stories. I had Spider-Man stories on vinyl that my dad ripped a cassette. Nalo, I did too. I had a Spider-Man record. It was a read-along record, had a comic book. And tell me if you had this one. I remembered it clearly. It was the story of Peter Parker and J. Jonah Jameson's son, who was an astronaut. And he went to the moon and he brought back this moon rock. And the moon rock turned him into a werewolf. I so distinctly like remember this. I was like a little kid and I had one of those like suitcase record players that like folded up into a suitcase. I don't know if any of you guys, that's how old I am. And then, man, I had that I played that thing all the time. And that was probably also responsible for me later on growing, because I was probably like 7 or 8 years old when I had that. And yeah, that probably stuck with me later on. And they messed that up with Venom. They could have totally used that story in Spider-Man 3 to have the moon rock become actually the symbiote. And anyways, I'm not going to get into that. Skip and Tosh, if you read the Punisher comics, is there anything currently going on with the character? I don't know. Skip says, you're right. Ash, comics, vampires movies were getting more popular in the 90s. Snipe tried and failed to get Black Panther movie made again, but got Blade due to vampire popularity. Yeah. Wasn't there another vampire series? I thought there was like another. I can't remember. Computer Robot says, can you name the B, C, D list characters of what? Of Marvel? I mean, there's a million of them. I don't really know that question. Have read Punisher comics for 7 years, unfortunately. Only Punisher story I plan to read is Garth Ennis' run. If you have not read the original Punisher miniseries before Punisher ever got his own series, anyone, not just Skip, read that. Mike Zeck and I think it's Steve Grant. That's Punisher. I actually miss Punisher being a villain. If you go back and read those Daredevil Frank Miller run when Punisher shows up, look at this. What's on the screen here, by the way. I've been making your eyes bleed. DC. I don't understand what DC. Who's DC advertising for? Well, I guess I just read a children's comic book. I'm gonna give them a little bit of a pass because I was like, because normally the comics I have, it'll be something that's more tailored for me, and then it'll be an ad like that, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Let's get on to the main event, which is, oh, hey, before I get on to the main event, I've been talking about future comics to read, and since Jimmy's here, I know Jimmy's going to be like, just read Thor. I've been telling you, read Thor. I get it. I know. So, this is something I don't know if Jimmy knows about. Jimmy, listening? Are you listening, Jimmy? Silver Surfer Requiem, which is a J. Michael Straczynski story. And it's got art by Asad Rabik. And it's Silver Surfer. And it's a 4-issue story that I've never read. I really want to read this. And I have had FF2 ecstatically back this up. So I want to pronounce this to the people on tonight and say this is a contender for future reads. Feedback is welcome. Let's get on with where is Birthright? Comixology. Could you make things easier? No, you can't, because you're Comixology. You're owned by Amazon, which is the biggest business in the whole world, owned by the richest man in the world. And your comics division section is garbage. Let's see. Birthright. See, issue number 1 is still free, folks. Get it while it's hot. All the issues that I'm reading are less than $1. We're on issue 4, if I can remember correctly. Isn't that right? Isn't it issue 4 what we're on? Yeah, the campfire one. That's right. I gotta borrow it before it'll let me read it. You can't just click read. You gotta click borrow and have Comixology go, okay, yeah, now go ahead and read it. All right. Now, right before we dive in, finally we get some last comic, brain start working again. Chat comments. Let's see what's going on. Where did I leave off? I wish I could mark, like, a bookmark where I was instead of having to, like, pan through. Skip says that Spidey story sounds cool. Computer was talking about Punisher. B, C, and D list characters of Marvel Comics. Computer robot. Dude, there's a million B and C and D list characters. Computer robots. I don't understand your question. There's so many. FF2 says, any Spidey stories I should read? Yes. Many of them. It depends. Have you ever read Spider-Man in your life? If you've read much Spider-Man, then you should read Spider-Man Life Story. It's phenomenal. If you haven't read Spider-Man, then you're going to get lots of different opinions, but I would recommend, based on my own experience, where I jumped into Spider-Man, which is back in the late 80s, early 90s, when Michelini was writing, just jump into Todd McFarlane run. I think it starts at like 297, and you can read all the way through. I think it goes into like the 350s, late 300s, because Eric Larson takes over, and then they all go to Image, and then Mark Bagley takes over, but Dave Michelini's writing the whole time, and it's a really fun time for Spider-Man. It was for me, at least. It's what got me to be a fan. So I think you might enjoy it. And then after you read those, go read Spider-Man Life Story. That book brought tears to my eyes, quite literally. It's that good. The art reminds me of the 80s cyberpunk art. I dig it. What are you guys talking about? I don't know. Not following it. So Saad Rabik is a master skip. Yep, he's truly is. Okay, I love Rabik. Okay, everyone loves Rabik because he's great. Everyone says Life Story is good. Good for you. I would hate to have anyone contradict me. Hey guys in the chat, would you consider Cyclops and Jean Grey A-listers? No, I would not. I would consider X-Men an A-lister. And to be an A-lister, you have to be able to have your own book. And not just have your own book, but like successful own book. Like, so Cyclops and Jean Grey are, as part of the X-Men, absolutely X-Men A-list. But individual, that's why there's been no Cyclops ongoing series. There's been no Jean Grey ongoing series. But yeah. So it depends on how you interpret that. All right, I'm caught up in the chat. Anyone listening on replay is probably tuned out by now. Anyone listening live is already tuned out. We've lost a few viewers. I still have thumbs down votes. Oh my goodness. I'm getting self-conscious. All right, this is Birthright issue 4. Hopefully you guys have been following along. I love this story. I love this cover. Sitting around the campfire. The part I like about it is right here. If you can see the mouse, I don't know. I don't have the mouse turned off, I think. I don't know. Where the flame kind of catches up, and if you've been following along, you know why we see this face in the fire. So Birthright, number 4, Josh Williamson, creator writer, Andre Bresson, creator artist, and then a bunch of other people. Woo, 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 woo. Police cars screech. Pull up in front of a house. Brennan? Mom comes through the front door. Aaron? Please be here. Please be here. That son of a bitch. So we can see that she is at his house, her ex-husband, that she left because the son went missing, and she's a shitty wife. I hate this woman, by the way. I don't know about what you guys feel about her, but I hate this woman. But I love her as a character because she's so real to me. This is how so many women are, and if you're lucky enough to be married to a woman who's not like this, then I'm very, very happy for you. Moving on. Wendy, I said to wait for us. This could be dangerous. You need to let us secure the... Wendy? It was like this before, you know. Aaron and the boys would take off to have fun, and I'd be left behind with the mess. I was the responsible parent. Aaron got to be the cool dad. And I was always the mean mom, the one who grounded, the one who spanked them, and got to feel guilty about it. Aaron, on the other hand, would sneak them away for ice cream without me. Your husband isn't exactly a man of many talents. We're going to find them. Are you? Look at this. I love that this woman, this character, she doesn't deviate from her character. And that's what makes her so much believable to me, because she was kind of a bitch who didn't side with her husband, and now she doesn't side with her new man, because women, she's the same. This is who she is as a person. And now her new man, this FBI guy that she hooked up with the FBI guy that invested her ex. Like, sleaze woman. She's like, are you? What? Dude has blood on his face still from trying to help her and getting beat up by fucking Conan. Are you up to the task? You went one whole year with nothing. Nothing. Not a single clue. What do you want me to do, hun? They're on the run and we're... But they didn't just take off, did they? They went through a lot of trouble to get his tools and that notebook. Did you make copies of the notebook? It was just gibberish, Wendy. Chicken scratch. You don't believe... It doesn't matter anymore. Aaron is off with the boys, making another mess. And just like always... It's my job to clean it up. We're going to have to find a place to sleep, Dad. I know, Brennan. And we'll need to get some food. I know, Brennan. Bzz. Is that Mom again? The wife. Bzz, bzz. I feel so bad for this guy. I feel he lost everything. Yeah. She's been calling nonstop. I can't believe I brought the damn thing. What was I thinking? He tosses it in the trash. Dad! Oh my God, are you serious? What if something happens? Don't worry, brother. I'll protect you. You're a few sizes larger than me, but I had some of your grandpa's clothes. Looks like they fit. It's been some time since I wore anything not made of razor beast hide and chainmail forged in the angry engines. Does your notebook say that we're almost there? Ward the Betrayer's domain should be closed. But if he or the other mages get word that I'm here, they'll go into hiding again. And that... Right, okay. But I have to ask, what the hell is a razor beast? Ah, yes. That was one of my earliest adventures. The mother razor beast thought we had killed her young. And like any grieving mother, its rage was immeasurable. I love this transition, how they do this. Like the dialogue carries over to a grieving mother, and we just know. And it goes back in time. Faster! The razor beast is only going to go deeper into its bloodlust. If it catches us, what about... Wait! I can't fly! Rhea! Damn it, she's too quick. She can't hear us. Ah! Swipes him. Ah, such a great shot. Thruck. He crashes down to the ground. Rhea. Shavo. Oh, no. We didn't kill your baby. I'm sorry. It wasn't. Rods. Wake up, Shavo, and get out of here. Get out of here, hero. If I let anything happen to you, Rook will kill me. You said the mother... Wait. You said the mother's in a bloodlust because she's angry, right? What if we just go? Save him. Be a hero. My magic isn't really hurting her, just making it... Ah! Swipe. Whoa! Knew I would never live a long life, but I didn't think I would die trying to protect a worthless human. He pulls out that dagger that the I think it was like the chieftain, if I remember, gave him. Go on. What are you waiting for? Grrr. Hey! Get away from her, or I'll... What are you doing, Mikey? You can't kill a razor beast. Run! Look at that. I love this shot. This little boy just standing there with a knife, facing this thing. No! I'm... Hold that thought, son. We need to make a stop. What? Put a pin in it. There's a gas station up ahead. We'll grab some food, too. You have to be starving by now. Dad, we don't have time for this. The mages could be... You might not remember this, but Dad has a hard time listening. When it's his turn to talk, it's his turn to talk. Brennan, you can fill up the tank while I go inside. Grab anything you want, son. What? Grrr. Slam. Everyone buckle up. You okay, Mikey? You want a candy bar? It's your favorite. Yes. Why don't you go outside and wait with your brother? My son was like that when he got back too. What? Your friend, that big guy with the beard? When my son returned from the war overseas, he was jumpy for a bit like that. My son didn't... It might take him a while to open up about what really happened over there. But when he does, you be sure to listen. Just takes time. Thanks. Thank you. This too. Ward is near. You can see the stuff on the wall here. Mom? Oh my God, honey, where are you? Are you? We're fine, Fine. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. Brennan, where are you? Brennan. Gotta go, Mom. I love you. Brennan, wait. Damn it. I love you too. You can trace that, right? Told you we'd find them. Ready to hit the road? You know it. No need. Mikey, ward infection is already growing around us. Damn it. Would you wait for... Hush. Look. Ward the betrayer. Dinner time, Mr. Kitty Muffin. Is that an old man? That's the great evil? Things are not always what they seem, brother. He's extremely dangerous. We must be careful. I will need to surprise him if I ever stand a chance of winning. No. Intruders. Enchanted woods. How? Intruders. Jesus. Damn magics. Mikey. No. What was that? I should have known better. Rushed into battle without thinking, without my tools. We're helpless. Ward's powers over these woods were legendary. That would have been good to know, Mikey. Where's Dad? Hey, old man, you're coming with us. Is that so? My trees wouldn't have attacked if you were just campers. Dad, stop. Dad? I can take some old man, Mikey. I already told you it isn't. You reek of Terranos. How? I'm here to take you back, Ward. Why would I want to go back there? That place is a wasteland of misery and death. Not anymore. Wait, not anymore. My son defeated that guy. What's his name? The God King Lore. He is dead. What? That's impossible. I would know. Who are you? I am the hero foretold for generations. It was my destiny to defeat Lore and save Terranos. To destroy his legacy of... No! I know what you are. See magic emanating off him. Dad, take Brennan and run. I will do no such thing. I won't lose you again, Dad. I know why you have come for me. Your journey ends here, in death. That's a pretty slick shot, too. And that is the final shot of issue 4. Got a bunch of letters page stuff. And then don't miss the stunning next issue on sale in February 2015. Woo! I don't have long to wait. So, that is issue 4 of Birthright, one of my favorite independent comics. Love this book so much. I hope you enjoyed it as well. If you've been following along the series, tell me, how is it going for you? Is it getting better, getting worse, holding steady? Yada, yada, yada. So, let's see. Discussion continues over A-list characters. Skip says, for Marvel characters, I would consider them A-list. Or I would not consider them A-list. Quirks agrees to read Life Story. Life Story is good. Quirks says, there are an A-lister in the mutant realm per se, but to hold a book, no. Jordan Pop is in the house. I'm here, he says. Well, just in time to catch the end of Birthright. Computer Robot says, oh my god, Ash, what did you do to get 2 thumbs down on your video? I did 2 things. I said something not positive about Ethan Van Sciver, and I said something not positive about Anti-Comicsgate. So I'm screwed. I'm homeless, if you will. I got the Comicsgater guys, I got the Anti-Comicsgater guys, and now I'm in the middle of the crossfire. What's that? Those famous cowboy families that they wired up? I can never remember. That's why I need Eric Breen. You guys know I'm talking about the famous battle, the OK Corral, and it was the two families. Anyways, I feel like that's what Comicsgate is. Now let's smash that like button, folks. Yes, but do it with your mouse, because otherwise you might break your screen. I wouldn't want to do that. Ed Brewer is here. Says, fantastic. I might get this for myself. You should. You absolutely should. It's so good. And I hope that I can do it some level of justice. Like I said, this is like the 4th time, I think, reading this, and it's still holding up for me. So this is great to get in some sort of trade format. Like I said, I picked up the comic books, and you'll read them again. You know, a year later, 2 years later, however long you normally, and it's not fresh in your memory. You'll go back, and there's so much great detail in the pages. The art in this book is, I gotta take it off the guided view. Let's browse pages. It's so good. I mean, it's not so great necessarily. It's good illustration. It's solid illustration, but the storytelling. Using this first page by itself, you can just see, the cars, police cars screeching down the road, and then pulling up in front of the house, and then the camera cuts to the inside and the woman running in. If you don't read the dialogue boxes at all, you can tell what's happening. You feel the story, and the dialogue boxes just serve to be icing on the cake. So just enhance kind of what you already know, to fill in the little details. I mean, look at this next scene here, where she's over this table. We've seen this table before in the previous issues. So we know this is her ex's house. It looks like a dump because the dude's full of depression. His life is gone. He just wants to die. He swallows his sorrows in a bottle. And now we come back to this house. Last time we saw it, it was with the dad, but now it's her. That expression of her just over the table, her FBI husband guy that she ran to the arms of when she left her husband. We cut to later scenes. Just look at this nice drawn out shot that kind of establishes that they're kind of like an arrest area. There's no one around. This is really important here. And in a lot of modern comics, if you don't know what you're missing, so to speak, a lot of times you just get a lot of headshots. You just get a lot of like what this third panel is right here, and it just cuts back and forth. But this artist knows well enough to give you this first panel is establishing shot, set the scene, know where you are, so the audience can get to feel. Then we cut to the dialogue. Then we see the phone, and this phone, him holding the phone and looking at the phone is so important because it shows this image of the family, that the dad, this is telling you a story here, that the dad still longs for his family. And even though his wife is a super bitch, he still has love for her and his family. He wants this whole again. It's heartbreaking. There's so much. I love the way that the book cuts back and forth between the present and the past, and the dialogue flows into the story. So we talk about a mother grieving here, which we know is the wife, but then we also had another mother grieving, which was the beast, and this story of how this kid barely got away with his life, and these other two kids are trying to save him, and they're not these aren't superheroes, right? These are just kids doing their best they can, facing this unstoppable beast, right? And we get this great, this page right here I loved. It's just the shot of the little boy holding up and drawing it in this way, as taking a full page spread, gives weight to it. You get to see the immense size of the threat, and by drawing the hero, which is the kid, this really small, it's important to set the scale. And I love how the camera then flips and you can look down and see it from the beast point of view, how insignificant they are facing up. But that sense of defiance, you can empathize with the character. The visuals match so heavily with the writing in this book. I have nothing negative to say about this series, which is why, like I said, even though I've read it multiple times, I decided to bring this out and read it again, because I want to share this. I want people to see what I love and hopefully can appreciate it on some level the way that I appreciate it. Let's go back. So we're down to the end of the chat. Looks like we got 12 people listening in at this time. Skip says, "What up, LS?" at Jordan Pop. Okay. Ed Brewer says, "Fantastic. I might get this for myself." I already covered that part. And Kay is in the house. Welcome, Kay. Right at the end of the stream, Kay shows up. Better late than never. All right, guys. Well, I think I've worn out my welcome here on the YouTube stream. So I'm going to end it now. I hope you enjoyed tonight's two comics. Same two comics as last night, Batman and Birthright. We could just make it a thing, Batman and Birthright with Ash on comics. I don't have another Batman comic for the next episode, which I'm going to try to do tomorrow. I'm going to try to keep my schedule going forward Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 10 p.m. So keep that in mind. And I'm going to go jump on the Discord after ending the stream for a few minutes to however long. Anyone that wants to come join me and just say, hey, shoot the shiznit. There's no obligation to hang around for any length of time. If it's late for you, just hang out for 5 minutes. I don't necessarily plan on staying in there forever, but I'll keep an open mind depending on how active the conversations are. Or I'll go to bed if no one shows up. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you all, always. I don't really know what else to say, so I'll say see you again next time.